Hi everyone, welcome back to Book Bakht Reviews. I'm your host Bakhtawar, and today I thought I'd discuss The Great Gatsby and why I think that it's still terribly relevant today. Often when you read The Great Gatsby, you're much younger and you think that it's just about America in the 20s and new wealth and flapper dresses, but I think that a lot of its principles are very universally applicable. And the story is narrated by a young man called Nick Carraway, who is sort of put forward as a reliable narrator. He describes himself as a kind of politician, someone who can view a lot of filth without shouldering any impact, and you see him both in the thick of things as well as sort of looking in as an outsider and providing a third-person perspective. And he is both affected and unaffected, which is a rare combination. So he moves to West Egg, which is a fictional town that Fitzgerald created in Long Island, New York. And he moves there where he has this enigmatic, mysterious neighbor who no one has ever really seen, and no one knows where he came from or what his background is. And he has this huge mansion where he throws all these lavish, elaborate parties. And so it soon becomes, however, as the story goes on, it soon becomes clear that Gatsby throws all of these parties to attract the attentions of a certain young woman called Daisy Buchanan, who is, for all intents and purposes, married. But he's sort of obsessed with her and he's hoping that one day she'll just walk in, and that's why he does it. West Egg is described as being sort of the realm of new money, where people who've sort of come into wealth either illegally or very, very quickly, they reside in that town. And then East Egg is sort of where all the aristocrats and the old money reside. So, you know, Gatsby to the eye of the beholder is described as being fiercely beautiful. You often don't see men described that way, and he's very deeply intelligent and ambitious. He's got the eyes of a dreamer. And he's got like the wit and the business acumen and the elbow grease to see his dreams to fruition, which obviously he does. Fitzgerald described him as having a heightened sensitivity to the promises of life. There was something very enigmatic about him. He grew up as a son of a dirt poor farmer, and yet he sort of you get the impression that he's never, when he's described, you get the impression that he's never really physically or mentally there in the farm where he belongs. He's sort of mentally somewhere else, and he's planning and dreaming of things, and he's got all these ideas and everything. So so he leaves the farm and he doesn't really care what happens to his parents or whatever, and in many ways Gatsby himself is an illusion. You see that he's concocted this magnificent facade which, you know, in which there's all, you know, there's the clothes and the house and the money and the cars and everything, but yet he's very careless with it. There's a wanton recklessness. He just sort of throws the wealth at any passerby, and he's kind of not careful with it. And you know, the indestructible capacity to hope that exists inside Gatsby. You see that he still thinks that the woman who left him 5 years ago and married someone else is going to come back. He still thinks amazing things are going to keep happening to him, and he believes he just believes in good luck. He's just a good old-fashioned optimist, which doesn't make any sense given, you know, his background. And when I sort of when I read it for the second and third time as you know, as a much older adult, I sort of I realized that more so than anything else, The Great Gatsby it's really a study of social mobility. You know, the circumstances that lead a man of really poor a really poor background, and how he ascends the social ladder, and he gets everything that he wants. And then I came across this measurement tool in economics called the Great Gatsby curve, which is actually named after this novel, and I found that really interesting. And they use it to calculate how people can potentially sort of transcend either intergenerationally or intergenerationally, you know, their parents' social status and income and wealth. So what makes Gatsby the Great Gatsby? You often find yourself, you find yourself thinking about this, and I don't think that Fitzgerald, you know, wanted it to be a really simple answer in any way. So one of the reasons which I thought was that Gatsby is inherently incorruptible. If you look at the ideals of that time and the values of that time, they're very much around, you know, wealth and outward appearances and partying and liquor and sort of, you know, everything it's very materialistic, sort of very much like today. It's very much a beginning of consumerism, because obviously there's a change in industry. It's the beginning of the 20th century, and there's a lot of machinery and there's a lot more being produced, and you know, obviously there is that historical sort of context. People just think they need more and they worship people who have it. While you see Gatsby easily ascend to these standards and have all of these things, you find that it's, you know, they're not his ultimate goal. He's not impressed with himself because he has all of these things. You see that his ultimate goal is still the love of a woman. You know, he's got a massive amount of integrity, which is ironic given his illegal profession. He mainly got his fortune from bootlegging alcohol. I don't know if I already mentioned that. So So he's built everything on a shaky footing, but you see that his ultimate goal is still the finer things in life, you know, love and honesty and friendship. You see that his ideals are still, you know, they're still very incorruptible. One of the great lessons that I learned from The Great Gatsby, which Fitzgerald is quick to point out, is that the pursuit of happiness and all that we desire, whether it's money or love, he sort of concluded that it's mainly empty and elusive. There's a symbolism that's used repeatedly in the novel of a green light at the end of the dock, which it's actually a green light at the end of the dock, which you know, and Gatsby visits it every night, and he sort of stretches his hand out to it, and he thinks that he can pass the expanse of water which separates him from Daisy. But it's a deeper meaning than that, isn't it? It's more also about whether or not he can reach the culmination of his dreams, whether he can put right all the things that he has lost or never had. And it's kind of, you know, the very act that he's stretching across from it, and he's just standing there, and then the next morning the light is gone. It's to sort of point towards the fact that it's ultimately unattainable. Maybe happiness is ultimately unattainable. And while the reader can sense the shallowness of other than Gatsby, everyone's affections seem shallow, everyone's intentions seem suspect. But you see that all the characters, they're sort of just in a maddening hurry to reach the gruesome end. They're just in a maddening hurry to sort of end it. They're all destructive and reckless in their own way. And the line that I really liked from The Great Gatsby, which is my favorite, is that Nick says to him, "They're a rotten bunch. You're worth that whole lot put together." I think that's the line, unless I'm paraphrasing. And it's so beautiful the way he says it, and that just sums it all. It sums up how Gatsby is a diamond in the rough, and how he's above everyone else at that time, despite the fact that, you know, he's built everything on a lie. And it's amazing. So that's all for today, folks. Thank you for taking the time to watch. I'll see you next time.